One more thing I want to touch on is the Sir John A.
Okay.
Can we talk a bit about that?
Yeah.
So this is a play/musical called Sir John A. that you wrote with the Salon Company?
I ran in a thing called the Kingston Summer Theater for 7 years in the 1990s, and we wrote a play called Sir John A. Grant Heckman and I. He did the music. I wrote the script for that. People kept saying, "You got to revive that. You got to revive that," because John A. was a Kingstonian. He was the #1 son until he was recently defrocked. And then I said, "All right, I'll try and crank it up again," and started looking for money, and ended up stumbling on his bicentennial and money coming down the pipe for festivals. So I couldn't get art money. Not hardly ever be able to get art money, but you could find it for other reasons and work around. So we raised a lot of money to create the John A. MacDonald Bicentennial Commission, which was there. Really what we're doing is running a theater company and a celebration of John A.'s 200th. So we did that as I had a brilliant young non-equity company, entry-level professionals that are really good kids, and they worked tirelessly for 6 years to do theater in the street.
Wow.
And they would be like tours. They'd go down the street performing and singing and dancing and engaging the customers, and then they would go to Johnny's Monument and they would talk about Fort Henry, and so it was kind of like a tour guide street theater, all based on events and stuff in John A.'s life, which were loosely based on the play that we had written. So that was, but what was interesting about that was how much money there was to celebrate the life of John A. MacDonald, and how little money there was to make theater. You could, if you
that was federal money. Federal money.
Yeah, lots,
Yeah.
a couple of $1 million, and
it was the previous government, right?
yeah, it was the Harper
It
government.
was the Harper government.
Yeah.
If you had done, I didn't see her, Sir John A., but if I don't know
I think
how.
your name came up more than once. You must have played John A. somewhere along the line.
No.
Never?
I've been approached him, a couple of guys who want to make a documentary on him, and I go, great, absolutely, it's time too. I said, you have an Indigenous producer partner? No, I don't. I said, well, I don't think you can tell the story.
Yeah.
Unless you have to tell the full story now. You have to tell all the story. Not the ritual that we've told for 150 years about who he was. Let's tell the bigger story, which will in fact re-energize the whole story for me. But they don't have an Indigenous producer, so I said, well, okay, go find one. Because that would be, for me,
Oh yeah.
that's the place to go, to hear
It's
that story from. There was a moment when I was, how slowly consciousness actually goes through the thickness of your brain, your skin, or whatever. I was watching The Heat of the Night the other day, the movie with Rod Steiger, and Sidney Poitier and Steiger and whatever. I'm watching The Heat of the Night, and I've always loved the movie. It's been a great, great movie. And I came to the first scene where Poitier is playing the black police officer. He's in the police station, and he's in the train station. He's waiting to leave, and Steiger, the cop, comes to tell him he's not getting on the train. He has to stay in that town and work on his murder case because Poitier plays a black detective from Chicago. Okay, I've loved that scene. I've always loved the movie. For the first time in my life, though, when I saw the scene last time, I saw it from the black point of view, and it's a totally different scene. So I loved the scene and loved the movie, but I'd always seen it from a white point of view because I'm a white guy, right? And for once, I saw the same scene from the black detective's point of view, and it was a very different scene. Mm-hmm. And so it's the perception of where your imagination, your colonized or your culturalized imaginations and identity sits that will often determine what part of the orchestra that you're hearing, or the kind of, are you sitting outside the wind section or the percussion section, or what? And I was hearing it from a totally different part of the orchestra. And I was stunned because I hadn't meant to. I just saw it. And that's because of Black Lives Matter. And that's because, 500 black activists saying, Robert, you don't get it. You just don't get it. So it finally seeped through my thick consciousness. And it was a stunner because it took a great film that I loved and made it even greater. So I think the story of Sir John A. lives in that territory. That if we tell that by reaching to all sides, it will become an even greater story about a very interesting man who did some very important things in a very difficult time.